Friday night is the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rangers Journal. Tonight's a wee Q&A podcast. And I'm joined by Roscoe and Dino. Roscoe, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, Dylan, mate. I'm good. Doing a bit of overtime this week, 2 pods in a row, so hopefully they're no fed up listening to me talking absolute bit of nonsense. But no, I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Dino, how you getting on?
Good, thanks, mate. It's nice to do a pod in my own house.
For a change?
Aye, we change.
No, that's good. That's good. Guys in the chat in the comments, it is a Q&A, so get your questions fired in. We'll bring them up, we'll post them to the guys, and we'll get their opinions on it. I guess to start, obviously, me and Dean's not really been on since last week actually, so we'll get our thoughts, your guys' thoughts in the chat thoughts about the Panathinaikos game. Dean, I'll come to you first, mate. What did you think? It's your overall view on our performance and the result, I suppose.
I'll be honest with you, Ben. I've seen people slating certain players and stuff, and I'm just like, fans are just like needed to get their heads at their arses for a second and just like, you know, take it as a positive. Given that, you know, a lot of fans were not writing us off, but we were, you know, okay, if, you know, a draw's probably going to be a good result for us given the circumstances, you know. And given that we're playing against a team, I think the majority of the boys at Panathinaikos were there last season, so playing against a team who's a decent side, let's be honest, and we have kind of been put together in a few weeks, and we get a 2-0 result, and our star man is suspended for the next game. I'd say that's a pretty good outcome, if you ask me, irrespective of certain players. Like, I'll hold my hands up, Dowell just was ineffective for me, but at the end of the day, he played and we won, and that's all that matters. And we take that and with momentum going into the next game against Dundee, Middlesbrough the weekend, is it?
Yeah.
Saturday, and then obviously we've got the return leg in Greece next week. So, all things considered, a 2-0 result is fantastic.
I agree. It didn't look as if it was coming, to be fair. First half, I thought we were a bit ropey. You could see the sort of players. I don't think it was they were just moving in time. I think Russell Martin was trying to get them, and he did say that after the game. He said they were receiving the ball in the wrong areas of the park and stuff like that. And I think when you're trying to shoehorn, even though Max Arns, he's played left back before, when you're trying to play him in a new system, in a Champions League game, first time at Ibrox, at left back, and he's asked to come in inverted. I think he had a tough night. I also think Nicolas had a tough night as well. But listen, Finlay Curtis, you spoke about it last night, Ross, took his chance. Absolutely brilliant. Great first touch, great finish, and then we just sort of went on from there, didn't we? Ross, what did you think, mate? Obviously, I know you gave your points last night, but just a wee refresh on it.
I thought you couldn't have asked prior to the game. I think we would have all taken a 2-0 win, a clean sheet, and I probably, like you say, Panathinaikos could do it to 10, perhaps give us the opportunity to maybe take a few more. One thing I liked about the game towards the end was Russell Martin threw on attackers and tried to go and kill the tie-off, and we understand that, you know, we're still a team that maybe that still has to work on beating low blocks, and that the practice will most definitely come against a lot of the teams that we play against. But what he decided to do was go and try and go for more and be a bit more ruthless and to try and, you know, rack up a bit of a scoreline. It didn't work. It didn't happen. That's okay, because at the end of the day, what you really just need to get is a positive result. And, you know, Russell Martin's obviously been I said last night, not been the popular choice for manager. He needs to get buy-in from the support, and the only way he's going to get that, be honest, is by a style of play and ultimately results. And that's two things that we got last night, was looking like a team, especially in the second half, who look like they're trying to do something that we've maybe not seen for a while, and then getting the positive results, all we could really ask for.
I agree with me, and Doug brings up the point here. Key point for me was you can see signs of development. You can see the plan. The more the players play the system, the better it'll get. Obviously, it's early, Dean, but do you think we've seen enough of the plan? Because personally, for me, I don't think it clicked enough for us to. I seen what he was trying to do from the back, but I just didn't see it quite connect with the forward players. I think that was the problem in the first half. Obviously, the first maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes when we came back out until we scored the goal, looked a much better team. Do you think there's more to come for that?
Aye, I think with, as I said before we came on here, it's a bit of a mishmash in terms of, you'd see the plan, players, you know, kind of in the rush for their elbow at times, you know, but that's going to come with drills, with training, with consistency, with, you know, intelligence and building the ethos and players, you know, progressing in their roles, but definitely enough to see that, you know what, like, okay, different, but he's very brass in the setup and stuff, and we've just got to give it time. And like what Doug said, it was one thing that we've been crying out for years was a set plan. We've not seen it. We know it's going to be there, so we just all need to get behind it and trust the process. And I mean, it's the first time Panathinaikos have lost against a Scottish club. Russell Martin wins it in his first competitive game. Do you know what I mean? At Ibrox, Spain, the pressure for your first game probably couldn't be much higher, to be quite honest with you. So, and I think he took that in his stride, and definitely you could see the energy in him and his post-match press conference as well. So, and it's good to have the concept that players are, you know, they're there and they're aware of what they need to do for him, and I think that's a key element in our, you know, short-term and long-term. And to be quite honest with you as well, the fact that there was moments in the first half and stuff, and you're like, oh, that, you know, kind of players have still got in their heads of how we played last season or how we've been playing, you know, but then you could see they're like wanting to play a certain way. So that's got to be like ironed out both sides. We've got to get ready, obviously, being the moments team that we were, and now we're going to have a team and players that are going to be able to actually be proactive on the ball and create chances, a lot better chances and things like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing us progressing match to match.
I think so too, mate. I think obviously it's early, really early days. I don't want to put too much of a damper on it, right? But we need to take the good with the bad. So Ross, I'll come to you. Sorry, with this. I think last night when a lot of the mistakes were our fault that led to their chances, to be fair, right? So you can maybe put it down to Matt Sharpless, no understanding the manager's tactics. But I feel like sometimes when we're in that final third, it didn't click. When they broke, they had the full flanks to go and attack because Tav was so inverted, because Arns was so inverted. So again, I don't want to put a damper on it because it was a great result, and hopefully it sees us through. But defensively, is that a worry? Because you've got teams in the league who've got quick wingers. When you look at sort of like Martin Boyle, Daizen Maeda, if we're going to offer up our flanks to them, are they going to hurt us?
They are going to hurt us, because even last year when we've played against these players with fullbacks, they've hurt us. So that's something that the manager's going to have to, you know, he's either got to combat it, or if he's got the mentality of, you know, we're going to score more than you, we'll concede goals, but we're going to score more with the way we're going to play, then we won't like that as a support. I think we're quite a pragmatic support. I think a very common thing we would say at the start of the season is we'd happily win 1-0 every game if it meant winning the title. We don't want to win games 5-4. We want to win just come hell or high water. But I understand what you're saying. I think it is a little bit of a concern. What I think, and I know a couple of guys have brought it up, that there has been links. It's not a coincidence, sorry, that we've been linked with left backs. I don't think that clearly Max Aarons is going to play left back for the full season. Whether that involves James Tavernier moving into centre half or perhaps some sort of rotation, we don't know yet. It's hard to predict. But I think that once he gets the full backs that he wants, we might see a little bit more consistency. And bearing in mind as well, James Tavernier prior to the game at the weekend did say that this is a style of football that even he's never played in. So it's going to take a little bit of time of getting used to. When we were obviously I think we're still struggling in the first half to get the hang of where players need to be, and that will come with time and with practice. But one thing I did quite like to see at times was when one stepped out, whether it was Aarons from left back or Tavernier from right back, the other one would move in and create almost a bit of a back three, and it became almost a 3 and a 2 in the midfield. So you would have, let's just say hypothetically, if Tavernier steps out, you then have Giga, Suter, and Aarons sits a little bit deeper, and then it would be Rothwell and Tavernier as this kind of 3 and 2 to then push up and support. And don't get me wrong, it didn't always come off, it's not always going to come off because sometimes it's just the way teams mark you. But that's what we want. That's what Russell Martin wants. Sorry, and if that's the way it's going to be, that's fine. He's been abundantly clear. And he's been very open and honest about how he wants his team to play. This is what I want. I want inverted fullbacks. I want guys to come in and support. And that's fine. It's not as if he's come in and went, "Oh, I want this," and then changed it, which we've seen with managers who come in and say one thing and very, very quickly change it because it's not going to work. He's clearly a man that knows what he wants. And I think that we'll probably see more of it coming off once we start to get the team clicking and he gets the full squad complement that he wants. The back four is probably close to what he's envisioned. Like I say, probably with another left back that will be able to link up. Because the one thing you did see, especially in the first half, was I thought that Max Aarons really struggled to link up on the left hand side with Finlay Curtis. Just because maybe he just doesn't feel very comfortable on his left foot, and he came in a lot, and that dragged Curtis out of position. Russell Martin again, he did say at half time. He did say that after the game that at half time he spoke to Finlay Curtis that he had to move to a different position to receive the ball in positions that he'd be able to influence the game in a positive manner. So these are things that are going to come with time, with practice, and we have to give him a little bit of leeway because, like we've spoken about and we will talk about, it's the first game where things really matter. Club Brugge a couple of weeks ago, it was a nice result, coming for 2-0 down, gaining positives from it. But the first game we've won, we've got a clean sheet. That's the most important thing, and the rest of it will come with time, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that last night, like you said, with when Raskin and Aarons started to switch, Suter would get the ball and they would just jog by each other, and the Panathinaikos players just stayed where they were. So it wasn't like they were pulling them anywhere or stretching them. It just wasn't quite clicking, and then it was getting forced out to Curtis because he was only sort of a free player. Danilo wasn't coming into the challenge to help him. So it was a tough night. Maybe not the first 45, but certainly the last sort of 35 of the first half I thought was pretty poor. But listen, at the end of the day, somebody mentioned it in the chat there, 2 goals from outside the box, 2 really good runs, powerful runs, 2 really good passes to go and make that. So the players can just go and step onto the ball, and then 2 great finishes. I'll come to you, Dean, on this. I'll come to you, Ross, as well after it. Do you think we'll switch to 3 centre-backs next Wednesday? So do you think we'll play Suter, Giga and Tav with Aarons at right back and a JFT or a Ridvan at left back? That would obviously give you a 5 at the back, 3 in midfield and 2 up top. I've got my own opinion on it, but Dean, I'll come to you first, mate. Do you think that's an idea? Do you think the manager will do that? I know he did switch that sort of second half, but they were down to 10 men at this point, and it kind of looked like he went sort of 2 or 3 at the back.
I wouldn't rule it out as in not starting with that, but changing to that. I wouldn't rule that out to give us a bit more security, especially if we're second half and we're still two up on aggregate type thing. I wouldn't rule that out to see the tie out, to be quite honest with you. I can't see us starting with it because I just get the feeling that he's going to want to continue to play the way that he wants to play, and maybe changing that would just knock our axes off a wee bit. But I wouldn't rule it out if we, as I say, we're 2-0 up with 25 minutes to go or something, 20 minutes to go, and change to that to see the tie out. But I can't see him doing that, making a big change like that. But I could be wrong.
Ross, what about you, mate? Do you think that the manager will be pragmatic and try and hold the lead, or do you think he just sticks to his guns? And I mean, history tells you what he would probably do, because he was with Southampton and he was getting battered every week and still stuck to his guns. But has he learned maybe from that, or what do you think, mate?
I mean, he's been very open and honest that he's had to learn lessons from Southampton. You know, it's something that I spoke about last night, was that we noticed the dark arts in the first half. There was a few last men pulls back to take the yellow because they were getting the break off us. And so that's something that he has learned. So you have to give him the benefit of the doubt until he gives us a reason not to. And I think that's the way that Russell Martin needs to be judged, is that until something happens that we can complain about, then he has to be, supported. And I think he actually has been. I think once the dust settled over his appointment, people started to actually understand who he was as a man, who he was as a manager, and what he's actually going to bring and what he can bring to us in terms of a team that we need and a team that the support need. Excuse me, sorry. But one thing I think that what we'll do is, I'd be astounded if we went there with the intention to sit back. I don't think we will. Don't get me wrong, we all love a Walter Nacho performance in Europe where we go play 6 centre halves, 4 central midfielders, and Kenny Miller up front to run the channels, chase crisp packets. I don't think he will. What I would imagine is that he'll go and try and kill the game, because Panathinaikos need to come out and attack us. And one thing that I think we will be extremely good at, and we always have been, and that's the one thing I think we will keep, is we're a notoriously good counter-attacking team, especially in Europe. That's us all over, has been for years. This is the perfect example that we can retain one of the good things about the previous squad, is be good on the counter-attack. Panathinaikos are not playing in their own stadium. They're playing in a 75,000-seater stadium, to which they're lucky if they'll sell a third of those seats to their own supporters. So it's not as if it's going to be, what the reputation that you have of Greece and Turkey and these places in the Balkans where it's welcome to hell, it's bottles raining down, it's a nightmare. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, a massive, almost like a void stadium with a small portion of Rangers supporters in the corner, and we can go there and absolutely get an upset. If we go there with the intention of the first 20 minutes, try and kill the game off, and then sit back and change the formation, perhaps, like I say, move to 3 at the back, even move Tavernier into centre half, or you never know, this might be the one where we see Fernandes, and then we might have a back three of Manny Fernandes, John Souttar and Nasser Giga, with Tavernier, who can drop in and then play a flat back 5, and Tavernier can also push up, and we can move about and you can shift. And Russell Martin's been very open and honest about that. It's not always necessarily about formations, it's about personnel. And the phrase that he likes to use that I quite like is specialists in positions. So at a point where if we need to, catch teams in the counter attack, we need specialists for the counter attack. If we need to defend, then he'll have specialists for defending. And that's where I think John Souttar came in, because I thought John Souttar on Tuesday night, when we had to defend, was outstanding. He was absolutely outstanding. So I'm positive about it. I feel positive about it. And I think that Russell Martin is clearly smart enough to know what he needs to do to get a result.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll stick to sort of similar team. Maybe if Asgard's fit, he starts. Maybe Gassama starts. I don't know, to throw them off. But my worry is, if he did have to go a back 5 and 3 midfield, and this is what always worries me about this formation. On Tuesday night, we had Curtis on their right back, and we had Dow on their left back, and then they had their wingers up and made their full backs on them. So if you take away your 2 wide players and you've got 5 at the back, they've got 2v1 in the wings running at you all the time. So again, from a tactical point of view, for me, it doesn't make sense to go a 5 at the back. I know what you're saying, sometimes it's a 3 at the back, but they had 1 striker. I don't think they need 3 guys to deal with 1 striker. So for me, you just stick to your guns, like you said, Roscoe. If we go a goal up or 2 goals up or whatever, then you can go and change it then. We're going to come to this here. Obviously, moving on to squad depth, and we'll talk a bit about the Middlesbrough game. But I wanted to pose this question to you. Do you think we'll struggle to get rid of players like Davies, etc., with inflated wages? Come to you on this, mate. First of all, just give us your take on it, pal.
I don't actually think that we will get an issue per se. I do think that will be moved on because I appreciate that he's on 20 odd grand a week, but he's also a very respected player down in and around the Championship and stuff, where they can be offered similar wages, if not slightly more. So, and he proved that when he played in the Championship, it's only since he's been playing since he came to Rangers that he's not been very good, because he's not built for the Scottish League, but he's a tidy player in the Championship and League One, obviously. So I don't think that we'll struggle to move him on. It might be a lesser fee than what we want from him, but at the end of the day, I think any sort of fee we would take now just to get the high wages off the wage bill to be able to invest that into somebody who's going to feature more for us. But I don't think come the end of the window he'll still be here. And Dowell as well.
Dowell as well. I understand. I think that it's as the window goes on, it looks more likely that they're going on loan. There's really been no rumours about, apart from maybe Proper and Dessers. That's all I've really heard. And that's lingered on. Ross, what's your take on it, mate?
I mean, just to genuinely answer the question, it clearly is a problem. Otherwise, Robin Proper would have been gone a long time ago. You know, the reasons that he's still here apparently are because we've essentially given him a salary that the club we bought him from aren't willing to match. And to be honest, let's be honest, who in any walk of life would take a pay cut to go to another job? Nobody. So I'm not really one of these people that's going to hold that against somebody. And I know you say let him rot in the reserves, let him rot in the B. That's just not how we're going to work. I don't think we're going to work like that. There will be an arrangement that will come over the next, believe the rumours today are that there's going to be an agreement over the next kind of couple of days or so for Robin Proper. He'll leave. Ben Davies is probably the same. You know, we signed him, bearing in mind that we spent £4 million on him for Liverpool. So we were paying him appropriately for a £4 million centre half from Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? That's how these things work. I think that a lot of these things tend to get missed, that we want to buy players and we want to get, they'll pay the least amount of money for them. So the other clubs, when they're buying our players, if somebody knows that we don't want Ben Davies, and we'll use Ben Davies as an example because that's brought up. Birmingham know, and let's use a Birmingham example. Birmingham know we don't want Ben Davies. So why would Birmingham turn around and go, well, we can give Ben Davies, he's 30 grand a week that he's getting at Rangers, but we don't want to pay £1 million for him because that's another 20, that's money that we could give elsewhere. Yeah. Obviously, Birmingham spent a lot of money on, I don't know how they're subjected to EFL spending rules. I don't know how it works down there, to be honest. But, so it's all about just trying to play the money game. And if he goes out on loan, I think I believe he's got a year left in his deal, so he'll go out on loan. They'll pick up his wages and he'll go. That's just what will happen. Unfortunately, this will probably be the last summer where we might have to take hits on players because it's just legacy deals. And we talk about legacy deals with other things that have been left by the board. We talk about strip deals and sponsorships and things like that. But players are legacy deals as well. We're still paying the price for years of bad recruitment. We're still paying Rabbi Matondo's wage. He's injured again. He's got 1 year left in his deal, so he's going to sit, not contribute, and get 30 grand a week. Do you know what I mean? We're still paying the price for that. But that's probably the last inklings of the previous management and the previous recruitment team. Once they're gone, I think we're going to see a whole new different ballgame because the recruitment's been completely different. The style of business that we do has been completely different. We've been praising it. I don't think on the Kieran Dowell thing as well. I mean, I don't want to be pedantic, but I don't think it's a coincidence that 48 hours after watching Kieran Dowell play right wing for Rangers, we've been linked with a £10 million right winger for Crystal Palace. If that's the case, then it's an absolute genius move by Russell Martin to put him out there and say to Andrew Kavanagh, look at what I've got to deal with here, open the checkbook up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true, mate. It's true. I know we were linked with the boy. We have been all sort of summer, but maybe he was making a point by playing him out here. I'll bring this up. The Ibrox Channel podcast, good friend, brings this point up. The second half against Panathinaikos is a good indicator of how we're going to press and counter this season. Would you improve anything based on what you saw? I think it is a good indicator, but I also think it's easy to say that because they were down to 10 men. And I think the players felt that there was that little bit of, it took the pressure off them a wee bit and they could go and play more freely. And obviously they're at home, the fans get behind them then, they were 1-0 up. So I think the full the sending off made it a lot easier for the players just to settle down and go and not get too caught up in where they should be and how they should be playing, and if they do take a bad touch. I think that was part of the problem. Danilo was laying off balls that were miles away. Tav was playing into the middle of the park. There was nobody there. They just looked a wee bit like a rabbit in the headlights at times. Arns was getting caught in the ball, buttling past it to Giga, who had 3 men on him, and he lost the ball. And so I think everybody was just a wee bit unsettled. But, come to you, mate, do you think that that's more like what Russell Martin wanted? Well, I'd imagine it is more like what Russell Martin wanted to see. But do you think that that's how we're going to approach games in the SPL? Like when you're playing, like Sam Motherwell at home, you'll see that intensity of pressing and more what you saw second half.
Aye, I think it is, and one of the reasons why I presume that Russell Martin got the job was because of his ability to get through a low block, and that's obviously unequivocally imperative for 90% of our league games, isn't it? So he's going to, well, over 90%, is it? I think so. Aye. Anyway, but aye, he's got. It's going to be more fluid when he's got the right players playing as well. When he's got players up to speed in terms of fitness, in terms of when to press and things like that, and like remember under Gerrard that the 3 pressed together, the front 3 they all pressed together, didn't they? And I think that's we're going to see that come to fruition. That the players will know when to press, who's going to press, and who's pressing with who, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely an indication of things to come.
What's what about you, mate? What was your take on it on the second half? And is that more like what Russell Martin obviously wanted to see and was trying to imply on the pitch? Implement, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen a lot more of the positive side of what a Russell Martin Rangers is going to look like. But what I think, Dino was making a great comparison there with the Gerrard midfield, and we know we don't like to Gerrard all the time, but the compactness of the midfield 3 moving across, the Jack Davis Kamara was great at that in Europe for us. I don't think it's going to play like that under Russell Martin. And obviously the midfield 3 that was used on Tuesday night was Diomande, Raskin and Joe Rothwell. The only one that I think is remotely close to playing in that kind of thing is Joe Rothwell. I thought he was excellent. I think he was actually, the fact that a lot of people haven't really been talking about him as much, I think it's probably been a lot about the service, and that includes ourselves in the pod last night. We didn't really bring him up until the end, which I actually thought was a bit of a disservice. That's probably my own fault as well. One thing that you brought up earlier on, Dylan, that I think that relates to is you were speaking about how when the fullbacks step into midfield, we get caught out in the wide the kind of wide positions. At the same point, if they're stepping into midfield, then those wide midfielders, on the case of the left-hand side last night, on Tuesday night, it was Raskin and Diomande was on the right. They're going to have to step out, and then they might have to track back. They might have to do that. That might have to be part of the plan. One thing, although it's incredibly difficult to do because you're asking Nicholas Raskin to essentially cover a fullback, link the midfield, and then go up and support the left-hand side of midfield all at the same time, and it's an incredibly difficult job to do. It'll work sometimes, and I don't think it's a coincidence that last night, as Nico Raskin was getting the ball and going forward and being more positive with it, that we were getting more joy because he's an incredibly talented footballer. And, once things started to tick through him going forward, then we turned into a much better team. He linked up very well with Finlay Curtis. And even towards the end, he was starting to find himself at the edge of the box. So how we're going to do it, I don't know. I think the evidence is still too little to really gather what we're going to see properly. You can look at, obviously, previous teams, but again, you can only take so much from, one season in the Championship where they were a dominant team and then a year in the Premier League where they were really bad. It's hard to take. I don't think we'll really see what we're going to get completely for another, maybe till the start of October. And I hate using that phrase, and I'm totally jinxing it, and I'm turning it into the Philip Clement, we'll see the best Rangers in October nonsense. But it's going to take time. These are not tactics that you can do in a summer. You really can't, and it's impossible. Football doesn't work like that anymore, where it's 4-4-2, big guy, wee guy, bypass the midfield, lay it off, hit the ball as hard as you can. It's not like that anymore. Hit the byline. So it's going to take time. But what he's getting is he's got players to buy in. And if you can implement it whilst getting results, you're going to get the buy-in quicker, because at least you can say, when it clicks, we're getting the results. So we just needed to work at it more and more. The issue would be if it doesn't, and we start to, give away stupid goals, and it costs us stupid points in games that we shouldn't be winning, then that's another issue. But I don't want to talk about that, because we're not even remotely close to that stage. If we even get to that stage, I think this is a completely fresh start, and this will be the way that we play. And I think it's what we've needed as a football club for years. So I'm all in on it.
No, I agree. I think that a style of play that the players can turn to, that comes almost second nature to them when players are moving into. A lot of the problem for me last night was Raskin, and even though they were switching positions, they were coming short and killing the space. And then when you were asking them to go and support the striker, so when you're asking Tav and Arns to come in the field, Dio and Raskin should then go up at almost like 2 10s, and your wide players stay wide, and then that's how you're going to attack. But when we lost the ball and the transition happened, when Dio and Raskin were up as the 10s, there was nobody really back because they were inside. So it was tricky. Obviously, it's just teasing problems. We need to get used to it. But I think that having a distinct style of play will definitely help us in the long run. We're going to go now. I'm going to touch on the game at the weekend, and I know the guys will obviously do a pre on it, but just what do you guys, come to you first? What do you want to see, mate, and what do you think the lineup will be? Or is there any sort of left field shouts that you want to see? And then after that, I'll come to Ross and I'll bring up a squad depth chart as well, guys. Guys in the chat, don't forget to like it, subscribe, share it, comment, get your questions in, and we'll get them up. Come to you on that, mate. Middlesbrough.
Given that Russell Martin's alluded to the fact that, pre-seasons, like in terms of fitness and things like that, where he wants us to be. I know it's a pre-season friendly, but I want us to be starting as strong a team as possible. To be quite honest with you, I want us to be maybe starting as many players as started Tuesday night. That's going to be starting on Wednesday night, just to give momentum going into the game. That's what I want to see, and I want to see balance at left back. I'd like to see a left-footed left back on the pitch. It doesn't matter if it's, Ridvan's on the squad, so Robbie Fraser or Jefty. But I want to see a relatively strong team go out to get a result, just for confidence and momentum as well. And there's no point us the stage of the season that we're at. We're going to go from playing obviously the strongest team that he had to pick from in terms of players being ready and stuff at the stage of the pre-season, to then going in having 2 11s come out for both of the halves. I think he'll be wanting to have as strong a team as possible to get a good result, to get the momentum, to then go to Greece to get a positive result for us to go and hopefully win in Greece, or at least get through to the next round. So that's what I want to see in as much as I dislike. Not many changes between the weekend and Wednesday.
Interesting, Dean. I thought you'd have went the other way on it, to be honest, mate. Ross, what's your take on it? Obviously, Middlesbrough at the weekend. Are you in Dean's camp, or are you on the opposite side of the fence? You want to see sort of the outliers get a chance?
I think that's what you've got to do at this stage of the season. It's unfortunate that our pre-season happens to intertwine with some of the most important games of the season for us. We speak about how important Europe is and how massive Europe's been for the development of the club over the last 5 or 6 seasons. Europe's so important to us to allow us to get what we need to get and how to run as a football club. So at the same time, you don't want to take to take them for granted, but at the same time, you need to use friendlies as the opportunity to give other players a chance, to give for the opportunity to run out other players and use other tactics. And it's a hard balance, I think, for Russell Martin to make. But I think we're probably now at a stage where you're wanting to start to see consistency in the starting lineups. We've had a pretty low key pre-season in terms of most of the games have been behind closed doors. We've not really had a lot of opportunity to see the team. That's perhaps a good thing, because it's probably allowed Russell Martin to get rid of a lot of the teething problems that we probably haven't seen. Because if we'd probably, let's just say hypothetically, if we had seen the TNS game, right, which was the very first game where we get beat 1-0, if we had seen that and we had seen highlights from it and it was god awful, we would have been ready to burn the place down.
Aye.
Where players couldn't string two passes together. It's nothing new, to be honest, compared to what we've been watching. But the fact that it's probably been a lot more behind closed doors I don't think it's a coincidence that it's given him more time to perhaps take a little bit of the pressure off, in terms of it's almost been controlled what we're allowed to see, if that makes sense. And I know it sounds quite kind of propaganda-ish, and maybe it is a little bit, but all we've really had the opportunity to see of the team is select highlights, the training videos, which have been, it's no coincidence that they've been long and intense, and we've been seeing a lot of football. It's not just been 2 minutes of running and then 3 minutes of rondos and that's it. It's not a coincidence that that's changed. I think the media team have played a blinder with that. Like I said, all we've seen in pre-season have been Club Brugge and Panathinaikos. So we'll probably see a little bit of both, I think. But what I would be astounded if the starting lineup isn't pretty dead on to what will start in Athens on Tuesday night.
Interesting. I would go the other way. I think for me, I'm not saying I would go the other way. I think what you want to keep the same. I think you want to keep your two defensive centre mids the same, centre backs the same. Sorry, Butland stays in goals for me. You don't rotate it. He's having a good game. You don't drop him, or he had a good game. I would put Arns at right back. See how he is here, and I would. For me, you need to play Cortez in Jeffy. You need to see what these guys, can you keep them? Can they adapt to the system? How are they going to fit in, or do we get rid of them? Because it's obviously we're just saying Cortez, but we need to know what he's going to give us. And I would keep the guys on for a good sort of hour and try and see if they're adapting to the style. I think then it'll tell Russell Martin a lot. I'd also be bringing in Lyle Cameron into the midfield to see again how can he go and fit the system? How does he play in it? And then Asgard, I think he gets game time regardless. I don't know if it's probably at the end of the game. On Doug's question there, I would probably give him sort of half an hour at the end of the game. Do you know you bringing him on? You get him obviously if he's fit and he's available. We're not expecting him to go and play 90 minutes, but do you get minutes in the legs?
You bring him on at least for the last 30, 100%. I think it'd be obtuse not to, given the fact that we've, as spent money on him, and he's potentially going to be a key star man for us this season. You want to be giving him a good run out and in preparation for Greece as well, because players like that, they're quite often going to be your match winners, aren't they? So, yeah. And they offer something completely different to what was on the pitch on Tuesday night. So he at least gets half an hour to then be in contention to be maybe the starter of either the wings or in the midfield for midweek, or maybe even just the same again. Maybe gets a half at midweek, but just depending on how things go and what Russell Martin wants. But he definitely gets a good amount of minutes for me.
Well, so what about you, mate? You bringing him on?
If he's fit, yeah, 100%. He's been, I think he's been, until Gassama came in, he was probably the marquee signing. Getting him was portrayed as a little bit of a coup, so I think it would be daft not to try and get him in and get him involved as quick as possible. He is in the squad. I know he wasn't fit for the first leg. I think Russell Martin did say that there's a chance he could play in the second leg. So if he can play in the second leg, he's probably got to get some minutes against Matondo. So Matondo, that's terrible. Just because I've read Matondo there in the chat, whoever brought that up. Against Middlesbrough. Sorry, God, that's my fault. And he's absolutely. I mean, I'm really excited to see what he can do. He looks like a sensational footballer. The guy earlier on, I don't know who it was, Lex, that was talking about him not being good enough is just nonsense. He's easily good enough to play for Rangers. He looks like a sensational footballer and a guy that we've missed that can link the midfield and the attack. So I'm really excited. The problem is that we don't want to, overexert him, and then we end up with a guy that's, if he's not fit and we're throwing him into, a game in Athens, hypothetically, where we're maybe under the caution, that can lead to something worse, then that would just be the most Rangers thing possible. And it just delays us getting to see him again. So if he's fit and if he feels he's available, then 100% he should be involved. So, but like I say, I know it's been brought up as well. The starting lineup, I think, will probably be kind of closer to, maybe not the same, but like I say, closer to what will happen in Athens. But this is what they're for. It's also to give guys chances, opportunities. So, like I say, I don't be surprised if we start seeing, we've not seen Connor Barron since Club Brugge, we've not seen Lyle Cameron at all yet. Apparently he's fit. I don't know if that's just maybe we don't know. I do have a little bit of a concern in the back of my head that maybe Lyle Cameron's not a Russell Martin player.
Yep.
He was signed before, and it does admittedly concern me a little bit, the same with Connor Barron. And I know that we as a support, we love a good Scottish core, but these guys need to be involved as well. I think they do have the opportunity, and if they can play well against Middlesbrough, then you need to give the manager a choice to, give him a choice in a positive way to say, well, he needs to be in the team because he brings so much, regardless of where he comes from. You know what I mean? So I'd like to think so, but I think to go back to the question I've rambled a bit. Asgard, if he's fit, definitely get him involved as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to get him minutes in the legs, at least to get him on the pitch, you know what I mean? To give him a wee bit of confidence as well. I brought Paul's comment up. Paul, I just think that keeping the team, the players that play important positions, just keeping that centre-back pairing is important. I'm not saying for a full game, but you bring Fernandes into it, but they need to play together as much as you can to get used to each other, to realise who goes in tight to go and win the ball, who stays back, so things like that. Do you know what I mean? I think that it's midfielders and defences and even goalies. It's quite, especially the goalies. It's a confidence position. Butland had a great game on Tuesday night, the best game I've seen in maybe 6-7 months from him. So there's no way that I'm not giving him a chance to play against Middlesbrough, just to give him Kelly minutes. I want to keep his confidence high. Touching on, do you think Danilo starts in the second leg? Dino, what about you? What do you think? Is Danilo starting it for you?
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
For obvious reasons, and the fact that he's again, relating back to what I said, I think we should be playing as many players as possible. That is, going to be the first name for each position on the team sheet, and Danilo's the number one centre forward going into the season as it stands. Dessers and Egeman both potentially away. Dessers and Egeman need a lot of work on their game to fit into a Russell Martin system. Danilo's the best option we have, so yeah, he definitely starts. And I mean, he was unlucky with that volley, wasn't he? So if he had scored that, I don't think there would have been a question that he's going to be starting, because obviously there's rabbit in headlights and things like that, but he's definitely the one I think is going to be starting the season as our number 9, so to speak, without question for me.
Ross, Danilo starts?
I think so. Just by the process of elimination, I think he's the fit guy. I think that as much as I know we've spent a lot of time discussing the future of Cyril Dessers and Hans Egeman, I don't think they're still up to it. I think even when you've seen they come on, they try, and I don't think that can ever be held, especially against Cyril Dessers, is that he does try and he does work hard. It doesn't always come off, and I think that at the moment what the Russell Martin team needs is just somebody with a bit more pace and a bit more energy in terms of pressing, because what we're going to need to do on Tuesday is keep the ball, and as soon as we lose it, we're going to have to get it back again, because we can get harmed. And I think Danilo gives you that, as much as a lot of his other game has been criticised, it's been flawed. He does have energy and he does have work rate, and when it clicks, he's a great footballer. I think he's a really good footballer. When it clicks, the problem is that for a £6 million centre forward, it needs to click more. And I think if it does, then he can be an asset to us. He really can. I believe that, but it's just not worked for him. A lot of it's sadly not been his own fault or anybody's fault other than, just sheer bad luck. And he's probably the one guy that has had genuine bad luck. It's not been poor management. It's been, you can't, I seen somebody last night in the comments spoke about Danilo having the heart of a mouse and things like that. And I went, that's just absolute nonsense. The guy busted his face open, going for a header to score a goal. You know what I mean? That's not heart of a mouse stuff. And then bearing in mind when he comes back, he's got a face mask and he scores the winner against Hearts in the 82nd minute with a header off his broken face, off his broken cheekbone. Do you know what I mean? That's not heart of a mouse. It's just he never gives up. He never chucks it. He's clearly a man. If you see socials, he's a man of strong faith, and he's not like that. So if it clicks for him in the park, then he'll be absolutely fine. And I think he's just the guy, like I say, because he's fit as well, and he gives more assets to what a Russell Martin team is than the other two at the moment.
Aye, I agree. I think he had a tough game the other night, and again, I think it's Russell Martin's telling him to stay central, to be that link-up play. Maybe that's why he wasn't running the challenge as much, but we just couldn't get players near him. And I kind of felt a bit sorry for him. I've always got a soft spot for Danilo, like you said. He done his face. Then he played against Hearts, had that knee collision, which was a freak accident as well. And then he played against Aberdeen, hurt his shoulder, and you're just like, well, do you know what I mean? It's all been impact injuries. It's not like he's done it at training and built a muscle. It's all been on the park. So I hope he can go and flourish. I thought it was quiet on Tuesday, but again, you see that when the ball felt him in the box, he had that flash shot. If the boy doesn't get his in the road, it's flying the top bin. So he offers you that. He's a goal threat all the time. I'm just going to bring up this slide here, guys. This is a slide about our squad depth chart, and hat off to Doug, because the amount of work that he does and information that he puts in these is, honestly, it's absolutely magnificent. And it makes our pod a lot easier. I mean, look at that. And remember, guys, he's doing all this just in his spare time. So do give us a like and make sure you're subscribed. Come to you. The red players are players who are leaving. The orange players are players who might leave. And then obviously you've got the blue players and you've got Sterling who's injured. What's your looking at that? And guys in the chat as well, put your opinions in here. Where do you think that? I think the obvious answer is a right winger, right? But we know that we're actively looking for that. So apart from right winger, where's your biggest concern here?
For me, at this moment in time is in goals still. And I'll tell you why. Well, as I said, I think
you play in goals, according to Ali. Sorry to cut you off, man. You go.
No, you're all right, mate. I'm a bit short, to be fair. So, but no, in terms of, I know Butland had a good game, and I got to give him really credit for that. Given the tail end of the season, he was dropped, and to come back and produce quality big saves for us, I think we've got to really applaud him for that. So, but however, one of his weaknesses is the ball at his feet, and Russell Martin is once a sweeper keeper, and I think in the system we're only going to be successful with a sweeper keeper, and that's just no Butland. Kelly's probably better than him with the ball at his feet, but Kelly's the number two. Everybody knows that. Butland isn't a good enough number one for me. And again, I've reiterated, he did have a good night, but I just think that we'll see the frailties and stuff, given how we're going to be wanting to play and stuff. It's just that's alarming for me that he's still our number one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Butland, as much as for me, and I said that, it was man of the match for me anyway on Tuesday, because he kept us in the game. And I shocked him saying it, and Alan McGregor save, and that was sort of point blank, and he got down to it. Really good save. But for me, he's one mistake away from going into shell and falling to bits. So that's not no bad shout. RFC 72 wouldn't mind the left-footed centre back just for the balance. Roscoe, where do you stand on it, mate? What do you think that we're lacking in this depth chart?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the comments. Is that the majority of it's came through the left back. I think left back's still a really concerning position for us. The centre half for me is, obviously a real concern. You look at you've got two guys. And obviously, that's bearing in mind that this is obviously kind of what we believe and what we've been told through the media is that the four centre halves in red have been told they can leave. There's been concern over John Souttar's future. So the only two that are there are the two that we brought in, and Jigan Fernandez. Robin Propper, if rumours are to be believed, the socials tonight saying that he's having a medical with 20 tomorrow. So don't be surprised. I would be surprised that if once Robin Propper leaves and probably another one, maybe Clinton and Salah, he's been linked with teams in Belgium. Once they two go, another centre half will definitely come in because I think you need four. You need four centre halves, two to play in the left and two to play in the right. I don't know which side Fernandez plays on. One thing I've always been a critic of is I don't believe John Souttar can play on the left hand side of a defence. I just don't think he's particularly comfortable. We've seen it in not his first season, but the second season, where he was playing alongside Connor Goldson, who was the out and out right hand sided defender. That was his position. So John Souttar had to play alongside him, and he was never comfortable. It's not, like I say, it's not a coincidence again that John Souttar's best football was when he was playing the right hand side of the defence. So if he's going to play, he's got to compete with somebody on that side, and we need another left-sided defender that will definitely replace Robin Propper. In terms of the rest of it, like I say, we've been linked with right wingers, so it's clearly something that the manager's is trying to address. And I think that's the real big concerns. The goalie as well. Like I say, I agree with Dino that he's maybe not the goalkeeper long term, but are we in a position at the moment where we perhaps don't have the finances or the spending? What would you call it? The kind of PSR thing, the financial wherewithal to go and rip up the whole team in one summer. We maybe just can't do that. So you have to make decisions where Russell Martin might decide I might just need to keep the goalkeepers all right for this year, and then next year when we can spend a little bit more again, I'll then bring in a first choice goalie, and then I'll bring in another first choice centre forward. So we need to be smart about it as well. It's not just about going up and this isn't 1998 anymore where we can go and rip up the whole team and spend an absolute fortune. We can't do that anymore, unfortunately. But what we have done is we've spent a lot in areas that we did need work in, which admittedly was everything, and the rest of it will come in time. But I don't think, like I say, I think the main focus is left back because we can't be having Max Aarons playing at left back for the majority of the season. It's no fair on him.
I would agree, and that's ties into my last point about playing these players and seeing, like, is it any harm in playing Seattle left back tomorrow, left centre half tomorrow, to having a look at him in a game? We don't even know if he's played a game. We just know that the manager doesn't fancy him. It's the same with Jeffy. I think you need to put these players into the position to go and see how they can go and cope in that environment. And a lot of players train bad, but when you put them on a football pitch, they're dynamite. Do you know what I mean? I think NCL was like that. He was playing with the B team. We were loads of injuries. We brought him in, and he actually done all right. And we thought, oh, we've got a player in our hands here. Again, left-footed. He's young. He's coachable. I think that letting him go, I don't know if it's on loan or a sale, but I'd be looking to keep him as a backup at least. But I'd agree. I think centre half, left back, and obviously right winger. But if Dessers and Ingerman go as well, you're looking at two strikers as well. So, like you said, Ross, I think there's maybe we can't do all this window. But the manager's he's got 4 weeks or something left to go and make that team his. So hopefully he can get bodies in the door. Guys, I've got a few more points just before we end it here. Paul's asked this question here just about the songs pre-match. I'm at most of the game. I'm at every game at Ibrox. I don't think that there's much more that they can do. I think when the Union Bears moved to the Copeland, for me, I sit in the Broomloan, so it killed the atmosphere because I don't think sitting where I sit now, you can't hear the Copeland sing. So the atmosphere for me is a wee bit worse since he moved. But apart from that, I don't think that the guys in the studio or on the speakers can do much more. I think that the tunes are just the tunes. What's your takes on it? Ross, I'll come to you.
I think the tunes are probably the least of our concerns at the moment. I understand you want to make an atmosphere, but you know, I think if some people had their way, we'd have the old Ibrox Mega Mix back playing every week. You know, the Dam Busters and the Copeland Road and all that, which admittedly we've all got nostalgia for, because let's be honest, we associate it with when we were winning things.
Yeah.
It's not particularly high in the priority list. I don't think I've believed for a while that I think Simply the Best has probably ran its course a little bit. It's just an opinion thing, especially when they kind of changed it, and I was admittedly perhaps a purveyor of the add-ons, but I'm not like that anymore. I've found the good Lord, so I can't admit to that anymore. Nothing ever happened. You can't hold it against me. I don't know. It's hard to say because we've all got our own opinions. And we're not really, the thing at the moment that if you want to talk about atmospheres is a lot of stadiums, include Hampden and Parkhead's kind of like it as well, as it's all about light shows and it's all about this kind of stuff, and it became a bit of a joke, with the disco lights and all that stuff. But it works, and if you want to make it a more atmospheric place and you want to make it more of a spectacle, that's probably something that might need to be implemented. I think it will, just because that's a very American. It's a very American thing, 100%. Song choices. I think you could stand here to be blue in the face. If anybody's getting any song choices, please, get them up. The channels, the Twitter seems to be full of all the podders singing karaoke tonight. So get your karaoke videos up on the Twitter, and we'll try and get a few of them retweeted if you want, of your choice for the new walkout tune. That's what we can have for the night. A couple of weeks of fun enough, just to bring it up. I was actually at the end of last season, I went over to watch Atletico Madrid play, and they play, when the team comes out, they've got lights and they play Thunderstruck, which is a song probably sentimental to the Rangers support, because AC/DC are part of the band was obviously Rangers supporters, and they were Scottish, and a lot of them are old dads who love AC/DC, and I love AC/DC as well. So if that was something that was to be implemented, I'd be well on board with that. That would do something for me. But again, I'm a bit of a basic bitch,
Thunderstruck plays at Ibrox, so
I know, but who wants to listen to Thunderstruck at half time? We've been playing absolutely rotten. We should be 3-0 down, and then it starts going thunder. You're like, no, guys, at the start of the game, if we're going to play at the start of the game, get the atmosphere building, light shows, get the disco light suit, guys.
Dino, what about you, mate?
How
did we get the fans in the game?
Well, I'd bin Simply the Best.
Aye.
I'd say this. It's kind of just a bit.
To be fair, the Penny Arcades make a fair comeback.
Aye, I mean, but the Simply the Best, that's maybe all right when we are on top and we're the best. Do you know what I mean? But we've not been for a considerable amount of time, so it's just kind of a bit naff for me, if I'm being quite honest. Open to suggestions. I don't really have a creative brain, but I'm sure there's plenty of other songs that we could get for the players coming out. But I, as Ross said, has at least our issues at the moment, to be fair. So let's just see a winning team on the park, and then make the changes as and when required.
Guys, just the last one for Stevie. Rothwell for Player of the Year. Massive early shout. What are the lads' predictions? So he's keen. Do you know if you had a thesaurus for your teammate tonight?
Aye, driving along the road.
So do you know, come to you, mate? Player of the Year. Crazy, but we haven't even kicked the season off yet. But from that 90 minutes that you've saw, Stevie's taking Rothwell. Who are you taking?
Gassama. Great
shout. Roscoe?
Hard to say it, because you don't want to make these predictions, because I end up making one, and I said, I don't know if you remember it last year, we done the early report card, and I said Jeffy was outstanding. I thought Jeffy did a great start of the season, and I was like, oh, he'll be brilliant, and it's just completely backfired. So I don't want to say it out of the chance that I'm a jinx. So I'm going to. So if I say somebody that's been crap and they end up being good, then that might be a good thing. So say like John Suter
There you go. I
or
can
somebody
remember
we've no signed.
Mick Beale's pre-season, and I said to my dad, sitting watching Sam Lammers, he's going to have a dark horse this season. He certainly was. Absolutely.
Listen,
fair,
Sam Lammers in that pre-season was the standout,
Thank you.
and we all thought, what a play, what a boy we signed here. And then as soon as the competitive football started, it was just like, who? I think we just got his twin brother who played polo.
I'll be honest, lads. I learned from Matondo, so I was no Leeds United Lammers. I learned the hard way about Matondo, so I had my doubts about Lammers, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, brilliant. Well, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. That's all we've got time for. We hope you enjoyed the pod. Thanks for your questions and your comments. Remember to like it, subscribe it, share it, do all the things. And every night is a Rangers Journal night. We'll see you next week, probably. Thank you.